It's time for the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc. In an era of chaos, confusion, and craziness, Ferenc is a voice for common sense. As a financial literacy educator, speaker, and entrepreneur, Ferenc cuts through the noise to help us understand how current events affect our money, economy, and our freedom. Now, here's Ferenc.
Welcome to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc, and I've got a special edition today. We're here in beautiful Atlanta, broadcasting from WXKG 1010 The King. I'm in studio, so it's pretty awesome being here, visiting Atlanta. It's a beautiful state, and a lot of great people we've had a chance to meet, work with some clients, so it's been a fun time. So anyway, last week, if you missed it, I had the John Burley interview where he shared about the real estate, all types of things, real estate related, and John is the biggest expert I know in regards to real estate. So if you missed it, I strongly encourage you to go to the website, yourpersonalbank.com. You can listen to this or any of the previously recorded shows anytime you like. So again, each has its own title. If you missed the show last week, by all means, check it out. Because of the interview, I've had 2 weeks here of information I haven't built up that I need to share with you. So I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to jump right into it. So recently we had Biden's State of the Union address. And I don't know about you, but screaming at people, I found rarely ever works. I don't know if you like getting yelled at, but most people don't respond real well, and I'm good at that too. Now, of course, his message was to his base, and I think the message that we got, I heard at least, is big government is back with a vengeance. The reality is the leaders in our government right now are angry. They're upset. And the reason they're so angry is most Americans are not accepting their agenda, their socialist agenda that they want to put force upon us. I love, I should say love, I'm saying this facetiously. When Biden opened up comparing himself to FDR, he sees himself as a wartime president. And the reality is, who's he at war with? He's at war with half of America, the folks that don't agree with his agenda. And that's the bottom line. Now, here's some things, some financial things that I think we need to really address and think about. And this is important. Again, this is going to affect our money, our economy, and our freedoms. And I discuss this all the time on the show, and regular listeners know this. I get asked all the time, why do you talk about some of the political stuff, the current events stuff, and all that that's going on? Well, the reason's real simple. It affects our money. It affects us, our money, our welfare, our lifestyle, our society. All those things are all tied together, and it's important to know these things. Here's something I think most people probably are not aware of. We know that during the Trump administration, there was a lot of argument and angst about building a border wall and the cost of it and all that. Do you know that the cost of the entire border wall was about $10 billion? Of course, it wasn't finished, but that was the total cost. Do you realize the annual cost of illegal immigration right now is well over $100 billion annually? Now, you tell me which one's a better financial use of our money. Allowing illegal immigration and having to pay for it, being forced to pay for it by taxpayers. And most of us didn't vote for this. Most of us are not for this. It's just frustrating as all get out. But let me give you some other ideas of what's so important. Do you realize that if you cross the border, you enter Canada illegally, there's a $5,000 fine. If you enter Iran illegally, it's an 8-year prison sentence. By the way, if you try to enter North Korea, I'm not sure why anybody would want to, but they'll shoot you dead. You know, the difference in the USA, when you come here illegally, you get free food, housing, you get cash on a debit card, you get transportation to the city of your choice. You get free legal representation. You can get a driver's license. Jobs are becoming available. The New York governor has announced making jobs available for state employees to illegal aliens. In California and New York, you can get free health care if you're an illegal alien. You get free education. And of course, in many colleges are now offering scholarships for illegal aliens. The lack of voter ID requirements on many states, can you honestly tell me some of these illegal aliens are not going to vote? In fact, and if they do vote, can you tell me how they're going to track? And we know that they are not voting. So you're likely going to be able to vote in many places if you're an illegal. You'll probably, by the way, a lot of people don't realize this either. the way the Social Security system is set up, many of these people will likely qualify for Social Security once they reach a certain age, like, say, age 65. Now, guess what, folks? This housing, this food, this transportation, legal services, and everything else, education, you name it, guess who gets to pay for all this? You and I, the taxpayers. In fact, they get the benefits of being citizens without the expenses. Now, you tell me how that is fair. And to put things even further, I'm going to touch on this stronger, by the way, as we go farther. This is so important to understand. The Biden administration has now come out and admitted to flying 320,000 illegals secretly. And the reason why they've done that, it was to reduce the number of border crossings. The administrations themselves have even admitted this has national security vulnerabilities. See, I'm not against people coming to this country. What I'm against is them coming into this country without being vetted, without going through the process. I've shared this on this show so many times. I'm first generation myself. My dad escaped Hungary from communism. He literally risked his life in doing that. He came to this country. He did it the right way, became a U.S. citizen. He was a migrant. He was a legal migrant. I was born here. I'm first generation. In fact, if you talk to many of the people who are legal immigrants to this country or first generation, they're some of the folks that are most adamantly against this illegal immigration. Why? Well, first of all, it's inherently unfair. I know of people, I have clients who have green cards, who have been in this country many, many years, some as much as a decade or more, trying to get legal citizenship in this country. They're productive people. They want to be a part of this country, and they're still waiting and paying thousands of dollars to become a legal citizen of this country, to become a legal immigrant. Yet other folks can just walk across the border or get flown in by the Biden administration, and they get all the benefits. In fact, many, not only do citizens not get all these benefits, housing, food, legal services, everything else, but legal immigrants don't get those. Citizens don't get it. Legal immigrants don't get it. And by the way, even our veterans are suffering. In fact, recently just came out, $74 million was pulled from the VA and given to ICE to take care of free health care for illegal immigrants, while our American heroes suffer and wait for years in some cases for treatment. Our government is literally screwing over veterans. Now, I don't know about you. I have a problem with that. I served in the U.S. Army. Part of the reason I did so was because I believed in this country, and I believed in the freedoms and the opportunities that this country gave us. I appreciated that fact that my dad was able to escape communism and come to a place that gave him opportunity. That's part of my legacy, and that was important to me. When veterans are getting taken advantage of, monies and services are getting taken away from the people who deserve it absolutely the most. Look, we wouldn't have the freedoms we have today, folks, if it wasn't for our veterans. And those are the people they're taking the money from and given to illegals who do not belong here. And I'm sorry, don't call them migrants. They're not migrants. By definition, the second you step foot into this country illegally, by definition, you are a criminal. You have broken the law. That is the facts. And I'm sorry, I don't have sympathy for that. There's a process. There's a process to go through if you want to become a citizen of this country. And if you want to do it the right way, I'm all for it. More power to you. I'm encourage it big time. But don't do it the wrong way. Don't start your life in this country the wrong way. Look, I know why those people are coming. I understand that. I don't blame them. But what I do blame them is breaking our laws to come here. And the biggest issue I have, again, 99% of them are good people. Let's be real. But let's just say 1%. Let's say it's half of 1% are not. In other words, they have nefarious reasons for being here. They're criminals. We don't know. That's the problem. We're not vetting the people that are coming in. It's known there are people on the terrorist watch list who have come into this country. It is known there are gang members, there are cartel members. That is well-known fact. We're not doing anything to vet them. And let's just put this in perspective for a minute. Let's assume in the last 3 or 4 years during the Biden administration, there's 10 million illegals that have entered this country. They admit to 7 or 8 million, somewhere in that number at this point. But the reality is there's gotaways. There's people they don't know about. No one really knows how many are here. I've talked to some border agents, and they've pointed out to me they believe the numbers are much higher. It's more like 14 or 15 million, they believe. But let's put this in perspective for a minute. Let's just say it's 10 million. Let's just say 1% of those 10 million don't have good intentions. They're breaking the law. They're taking advantage of people. They're stealing. They're robbing. They're raping. They're murdering. Folks, that's 100,000 criminals in this country that have no business being here. And we could very easily prevent nearly all of that just by vetting those people. That's the issue that I have. That's the problem that I have. And why I say that, and I'm just going to get a little personal here. I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I have a wife and teenage daughters. And part of my job as a man, as a husband, as a father, is to protect my family. Guys, where are you at, man? Where are you at? Stand up and protect your family. I'm here in Georgia, Lake and Riley. This has been a big issue. I was here when that all happened. I wasn't near it. I don't know anybody. I don't know Laken. I don't know anybody who knows Laken. But I'm taking it personal, because what if I think about this? I was up last night thinking about this, folks. What if that was one of my daughters? How would I feel about it? How would I respond? That's what how long are you going to wait? Are you going to wait till it's somebody you know? Is it you going to wait until it's a loved one that you know? Or is it going to wait until it could happen to you? When are you going to stand up and do something about it? Look, I get it. Money, financials, stuff like that is important. But here's the reality. There's some things in this life that are a lot more important, like your life. Look, I'm going to discuss this further. We're going to get into some more financial stuff. We're going to get into some more current event stuff. There's some financial issues about illegal immigration you probably don't know about, you want to hear about in the next segment. So I'm going to really encourage you to stay tuned. Don't miss it. But if you want to learn how to navigate this economic chaos, and believe me, I firmly believe it's going to be worse before it gets better, contact me at yourpersonalbank.com. And I'll share with you how to grow your money safely, insured, guaranteed, tax-free, get positive arbitrage, positive cash flow on your money while you're using it. Learn how to take control of your money. You need to do so more than ever, because we got inflation, folks. It ain't getting better. I'll share more on that too. So stay tuned in the next segment. Don't miss it.
Stay tuned for more common sense from Ferenc. For more information, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth. Want more information? Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Now back to the show with Ferenc Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc, and we are broadcasting in studio from WXKG 1010 The King in Atlanta, Georgia. Beautiful place to visit. We've been having a lot of fun meeting clients, meeting a lot of great people. So it's just been really awesome. The folks in Georgia are just really, really awesome people. So been enjoying the visit, like I said. So I've been discussing a lot about illegal immigration in the first segment, and some of the financial impacts that it has, as it affects all of us as Americans. I'm going to discuss a few more things on here. This is important to understand, because these are the things that our government is doing, where much of our taxpayer dollars are going to. We need to understand that. We need to be responsible. We need to be good stewards of our money. We need to understand where the government's spending our money. It's not their money, folks. Remember, the government has no money. And I repeat myself, the government has no money. Where do they get it from? They get it from taxpayers, or they print it, which creates more inflation, which of course affects everyone. And we'll discuss that further here in the show, because everyone pays more for goods and services that we use and need. I stated at the end of the last segment, where it just really irks me, federal government has taken money from VA funds for health benefits for veterans, and now applying that to illegal aliens. So far, the tune of $74 million. There is no one, and I repeat, there is no one in this country that deserves their benefits or medical benefits more than veterans. I happen to be one myself. I have fortunately have not needed to use those benefits at any time. But the reality is, can you give me a person that's more deserving than a veteran who needs medical assistance that supported the freedoms that we enjoy? I don't think you can. That is wrong on every level. Here's another thing you need to be aware of. The United States supports the UN, the United Nations. In fact, we support it more than any other country by far. And then the UN has now come out and stated that they are facilitating illegal immigration or invasion of the United States. They have donated $1.6 billion to 17 Latin American countries. And where did they get most of that money from? From you and I, American taxpayers. In other words, we are funding our own invasion. How crazy is that? But it goes beyond that. I stated earlier, New York State is now removing red tape to allow illegal immigrants the ability to obtain state jobs. Look, have anybody been to a DMV recently, anywhere? The level of service? How about getting an illegal immigrant in there? What are they going to do if they can't speak English? But do they deserve the job? No, they don't deserve to be here. Why are they getting a job? Denver, I love Denver. I got a lot of great listeners and clients there. Well, they're now pleading with property owners to rent to migrant, and they call them, quote unquote, newcomers. They're not newcomers. They're illegal immigrants. Denver is trying to cut their expenses by $60 million because they've been flooded with illegal immigrants. Well, they're a sanctuary city. Duh. What did you expect? You're inviting these people by giving them free food and housing and all this other stuff. Why wouldn't they come to your city? Stop. It's like I saw somebody this. You ever had a stray cat come around your house because you were feeding it? You want to stop the stray cat coming around? Stop feeding them. Duh. It's not that complicated. Illegals have all the benefits, like I said in the last segment, of citizenship without the responsibility of paying for living expenses, taxes, or having jury duty. You're almost better off at this point to be an illegal immigrant than you are a U.S. citizen. You certainly get more benefits and less responsibility. And here's something I'm going to say. If you're better off today financially than you were 4 years ago in the United States, there's a high probability either you're an illegal alien or you're supporting illegal immigration, like our non-government organizations, cartels, stuff like that, or you're involved in the defense industry because we love to have wars like in Ukraine and other places. You see, here's the other thing that I find extremely irritating. The Democrats are now more upset that Biden used the term illegal in his State of the Union address than Laken Riley was murdered by one. Think about that. There is nothing that angers me, that frustrates. It should frustrate. It is frustrating people, and that is good. I'm seeing a level of anger and frustration that we haven't seen, and that's a good thing. But there should be an uproar. This was a girl who I had no idea who she was. I don't know anything about her, but today she's dead, and she could have been a nursing student like she wanted to be. She should still be alive. Why is she not here? Why was she tragically killed by an illegal? Because our open border policy allowed her to be here. And the thing with Biden is this is so infuriating. He was called out in the State of the Union address to say her name. And when he did, he said Lincoln Riley, he's the USC football coach. Couldn't even say her name correctly the one time he names her. But then later, on top of that, I believe it was the next day in an interview, he apologized to her murderer for calling him an illegal. See, Biden's more concerned about calling an illegal immigrant an illegal than they are of the life of a U.S. citizen. You see, what I would go on to say is Joe Biden is the president of illegal aliens, not the United States. I'd also say he's the president of Ukraine, because if you just listen to his State of the Union address, he addressed issues with Ukraine over a dozen times, and I believe he only mentioned America once. So which country is he really president of? Which country does he care about? And does he care about U.S. citizens, or does he care more about illegal aliens? Listen to the speech, and that'll tell you. Again, I have gotten extremely frustrated. I've stayed up at night thinking about this Laken Riley situation, and it's only because this one has really caught the attention of a lot of people, and rightly so. The reality is there are thousands of documented murders of Americans by illegal aliens over the last 20 years. And all of them, and I mean all of them, were preventable. The murderers should never have been in our country. That's how they would have been preventable. And I have a simple question. How many is too many? In my opinion, one is too many. And a lot of folks discuss this recent immigration bill, that was bipartisan, but thankfully got killed because it was allowing up to 5,000 illegal immigrants per day before they would shut the border down. And it was shut down rightly so. Here's why. What's the proper number of illegal immigrants that our U.S. government should allow? The answer is real simple, 0. That should be our target. That should be our goal. No illegal immigration. And close the border. It's that simple. And then, and only then, can you address legal immigration issues. Oh, by the way, you have one more step you need to do. Deport all the illegals that are here. And then let them try to come back legally through the legal process, but not until after a significant period of time has passed. And it gets worse than this, though. Do you realize that recently 170 House Democrats just voted against the Laken Riley Act? This is the bill that would have required ICE to arrest and detain criminal illegal aliens. The Democrats don't care about your safety. In other words, you can break the law coming into our country. You've just broken one law. You can murder somebody. Obviously, you've broken another law. And yet, you can't get about 80% of the House Democrats to vote in favor of deporting that person, a murderer. Now, why is it so dramatic? Why? The question I get from most normal people who just can't fathom why in the world things would be like that. It's really quite simple. You always have to follow the money or follow power, and money follows power, okay? The border is open for one reason and one reason only. It's because the Democrats think open borders will give them more power. If you happen to get in the way of their agenda, you may die. Laken Riley, that happened to her. Other citizens have lost their lives. They don't care. And by the way, folks, a leader who doesn't care about someone's life, there's only one thing you can deduct from that. They're evil. Folks, this is an election we have coming up. Normally, it's about right versus left, Democrats versus Republican, and various other. We have differences of opinions, differences of issues, and for decades, I've complained for both sides. There's nothing perfect about the Republicans by any means. I've complained about them many times. But here's the reality. We are literally dealing with people who would rather maintain their power. It's okay if somebody gets killed even. They just don't care. They'd rather apologize for calling a murderer an illegal than apologize to the family of the girl who got murdered. I mean, I'm going to get graphic here for a minute, folks. They bashed her head in. How gross is that? And yet Biden cannot even bring himself to share any sympathy or even say her name. Folks, that's sick. I'm sorry. It's evil. We are up against a good or better versus evil scenario this time. And that's really what it's coming down to. And I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating this time. You need to realize that we're dealing with good versus evil here. And if you don't believe that, or you want to put your head in the sand, you can, but it's very naive to think so otherwise. What does it matter what you do with your money? What does it matter how you live your life if you're not here? If you're subject to risk of literally being attacked, raped, murdered, any of those kind of things. And just because it hasn't happened to you or somebody you know or a loved one doesn't mean it can't. And granted, we're a big country, and the odds of these kinds of things happening are rather small, thankfully, because we are such a big country. But can you honestly tell me that the odds of something like that happening to you or somebody you know hasn't gone up? Of course they have. Statistically speaking, they have. Because as I stated, when you allow millions upon millions of unvetted people into this country and you have no idea what their agenda is or their motivation, some of them are not going to be good people. And for us to not vet those people is beyond ridiculous. Again, I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned in the next segment because I'm going to share with you more about, we've heard that Democrats want open borders and destiny and demographics is destiny, and they think these people are going to vote for them. But it's even bigger than that, and it's even more immediate than that. That's a long-term vision, but there's a short-term vision you need to be aware of. I'm going to share that in the next segment. Again, if you want to manage your money, reduce risk, reduce taxes, earn positive cash flow on your money while you spend it, I'm going to encourage you to contact me at yourpersonalbank.com. Don't miss the next segment.
Stay tuned for more common sense from Ferenc. For more information, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc Toth. Want more information? Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Now back to the show with Ferenc Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc, and this is a special occasion. We're getting to broadcast here live in studio at WXKG 1010 The King in Atlanta. It's been an awesome experience here, meeting a lot of the folks and clients here in Georgia. Just really a lot of really, really nice folks, and it's a beautiful state. So if you ever get a chance to come here, highly recommend it. I've been discussing a topic a lot, and I don't want to beat a dead horse here in terms of illegal immigration, but there are a couple other thoughts I do need to share. I think you need to know that are very important. And here's one of the things that I, until recently, did not even know. And again, I pay attention to a lot of this stuff, and I don't think most people know this. Again, the question is, the vast majority of Americans, doesn't matter whether you're left, right, center, or whatever, the vast majority are against illegal immigration. So why is it happening? Well, the reason is real simple. Why are the borders open? It's well known. It's a well-known fact that the Democrats are the ones behind primarily keeping the open borders. And the Republicans, unfortunately, there's some good ones and there's some rhinos. And we know what we think about the rhinos. They're compromised. And they're either compromised in many cases by being blackmailed. That's come out. That's public record. I'm not saying that. It's public record. Or they've been bribed by their donors or whatever. Chamber of Commerce famously wants cheap labor, okay? And many of these rhino Republicans support that type of thing. So that's why about half the Republicans typically on an issue like open borders, illegal immigration, are against it, and about half of them go along with it or allow it to happen. If they don't openly support it, they allow it to happen. But the Democrats are almost unanimous on wanting to have the border open. And most people don't even understand why. In fact, in a recent bill, the Democrats voted unanimously to defeat an amendment that would have stopped counting illegals for congressional seat appointment and Electoral College votes. See, I didn't know this. Most Americans are still unaware that the census counts all people, including illegal immigrants. Why is this so important? Well, population determines how many congressional seats a state has, for example. And it's no secret many of the blue states, like New York and California, have lost a lot of their population. Many people have left. Estimates I've seen are upward of 1 million people have left California in the last 2 or 3 years. That's a lot of people. That means you lose congressional representation. You also lose Electoral College votes, folks. Again, it's based on population. In fact, it is estimated right now, this is based on the 2020 census, so this is before this latest wave of illegal immigration, that the Democratic states currently are getting roughly 20 more House seats because of counting illegal immigrants. So whether these illegals vote or not, it doesn't matter. They're getting about 5% more representation. There's 435 seats in the House, right? They're getting about 20 extra seats due to counting these illegal immigrants, whether they vote or not. Why is that such a big deal? Well, it's a big deal on a couple of levels. For one thing, we all know you take any of the presidential elections for the last 40 years. How often has the winner won by more than 5%? In fact, the last time a president won by more than 5% was Reagan's second term, when he had a landslide election and won 49 states. He won by a little over 5% of the total vote, folks. That's how big of a deal it is. Secondly, it dilutes your representation as a citizen and your vote, because illegals are getting counted and they're just obviously giving them to whoever they want to give them to, so they control about 5% of the vote in Democratic states. So if you're in one of those states, your vote is diluted, and there's nothing right about that. But I'm going to go one step further. There's a third thing. In fact, I'm going to say that in the last 40 years, because of this, well, I don't know if it's 40 years, let's just say the last decade or two, to be fair, because of this overrepresentation of Democratic states for the House and for the Electoral College, I'm going to say that whenever the Democrats have had a majority of more than or less than 5%, in the House of Representatives, or the Democratic president won by less than 5%, which is all of them in the last 40 years, they were not counted correctly, not constitutionally. So constitutionally, the Democrats should not have had a majority in the House in those situations. And, of course, the Democratic president should not have won. Folks, that is pure and simple, unadulterated power. In fact, because of the loss, this is the other part I didn't understand, but now makes sense. Sanctuary cities. Why do so many, it's obvious why the illegal immigrants go to the sanctuary cities. They get free housing, they get free food, and like I said, New York and California, they get free health care. It makes sense why they're going there, but why are they offering all of this? You know, what they say is one thing, but I always say, if you want to understand something, follow the money. Money follows power, right? Well, they have had so much of an outflow of citizens and people leaving those states. The illegal immigrants are now backfilling in the losses of their representation in the House and Electoral College. California and New York, this last cycle, each lost a House seat. It would have been much, much worse for those states if they did not count the illegal immigrants. So in other words, folks, this open border, this flood of illegal immigration partly has to do with future voters. We've all heard that one. But more in the immediacy, current, it has everything to do with power, political power, and that is representation in the House and Electoral College votes. And this is why I say last segment, when I said we're up against evil, because one of the byproducts of allowing these open borders is to allow criminals, murderers, gang members, cartel members into this country, because no vetting is happening. They're not terrorists. They're not keeping that out. Even the FBI director himself has stated there are terrorists, there are known terrorists that have come into this country and unknown, and there are terrorist cells in this country now as a result of the open border. It's not me saying this. That's the FBI director, the current one. This is evil because they know that these people, some of these bad people are in this country now. They know some people are going to literally die, like Lake and Riley, and they don't care. They would rather keep and maintain their political power than protect U.S. citizens. The primary goal, the primary role of any government is to protect the welfare of its citizens. And if your government does not protect the interests of citizens, why do you need that government? When the government actively acts to harm its citizens, it's time to alter or abolish that government. And this isn't me. This is the Declaration of Independence. And it states it best. And it says, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Folks, you've heard this, but this bears repeating. We are endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And the governments to secure these rights are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governor. That governed. That's the people. That's us. And here's the next part that you rarely hear, but applies so much to this situation where we're at today. And the Declaration in the second paragraph states very clearly that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, and those ends are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute a new government. Folks, that's the Declaration of Independence. That is the very first founding document of this country. That is the mission statement, if you will. If you start a business and you want to borrow money from a lender, you have to give them a business plan. And the very first paragraph of that business plan, the very first statement, needs to be a mission statement. Now, again, many people have tried to denigrate the Declaration by stating that all men created equal is not an accurate representation of the Declaration and what things were at the time. There was slavery. Women couldn't vote, for example. In fact, when the Declaration was written, you had to be a landowner to be able to vote even. Obviously, over time, more people were given the right to vote, for example. Slavery was abolished. All these kinds of things have happened throughout our country's history, which are things to be proud of, not denigrated. Is our country perfect? No. But the mission statement that all men are created equal, has our country moved closer to that mission or farther away? And the answer is clearly closer. We're not perfect, but we're moving towards it. Thomas Jefferson stated it himself when he said that the Declaration was an aspirational document. It was never meant to be something that says, this is where we're at today. Again, I'll use the analogy of the business. When the business writes the business plan and has a mission statement, is it describing the business as it is today or where it wants to be? It's an aspirational statement. It's the goal of where that business wants to be. It's the direction you're headed. That's what the Declaration is, folks. It's the direction. It's the mission statement. It's the goal. It's where we want to be. It's where we want to head to. And what we need to understand is, are we being successful as a country and as citizens? Are we moving closer to that goal, or are we moving farther away? That is the key point. And this whole issue with illegal immigration, giving more rights and more power to those that do not deserve it, have not come here through the proper channels, and giving benefits to people who do deserve it, like veterans, is wrong. And we're moving away from the mission statement of our Declaration. I'm going to encourage you to stay tuned in the next segment. I got a few other financial things I promise I'll get to that I think you'll find very valuable, help you make better financial decisions. If you want to contact me on how to navigate this economic chaos, contact me at yourpersonalbank.com. I'll show you how to reduce taxes, reduce market risk, make your money go farther. It's more important than ever with inflation. Like I said, don't miss the next segment. You really are going to like what I have to say next, so don't miss it.
Stay tuned for more common sense from Ferenc. For more information, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show with Ferenc. Want more information? Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. Now back to the show with Ferenc Toth.
Welcome back to the Your Personal Bank Show. This is Ferenc, and we're broadcasting in studio in Atlanta, Georgia. It's been a beautiful place to be, and the folks have been great. And we're on 105.5 The King. Just been an awesome experience. Met a lot of great people here. I really appreciate it, and thank you to Georgians for a hospitable time. So I've been discussing a lot about illegal immigration on today's show, and some of it really not only just the legal aspects of it, but also how it affects us, our society, our money, all those types of things. And I just want one last thought I want to share about illegal immigration. I think it's so important to understand. And it's this. It's no surprise with this illegal immigration happening why we're starting to see American citizens question why they'd serve in the armed services, for example, to protect and defend this government, because they don't believe in what the government is doing. No wonder the military is having recruiting challenges. I mean, that's no surprise. I'm also seeing more and more Americans questioning why they're paying taxes to support illegal activity. Illegal immigration is illegal activity. It's criminal activity. The cartels are benefiting greatly. Why should our tax dollars go towards supporting that? Also, we're seeing a lot of people starting to really question why is so much of our blood and treasure, our tax dollars, supporting non-citizens, foreign countries, through foreign aid, endless wars, Ukraine, you name it. I mean, really, we're supposed to pay tax. Our tax dollars are supposed to go to the government to take care of its citizens. That's the role of government, as I stated in the last segment. Again, the best way to measure whether the government is fulfilling its role is it doing what's its constitutional duties, protecting the country, protecting the border, dealing with commerce, or is it doing other things? I would give our federal government a big fat F right now, because they're doing just about nothing that's constitutional, and doing almost, and everything they are doing is unconstitutional, in my opinion. Just read the Constitution. It's not that complicated. And are they following the mission statement in the Declaration of Independence, where it states the government's role is to protect life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Are they making life easier, better for citizens, or not? I would say that the government is an accomplice to Laken Riley's murder, because the people that are in favor of this open border policy have to know that some of the unintended consequence of that, of allowing millions of unvetted people enter this country, some of them are going to be criminals. Some of them are going to attack Americans, rape them, kill them, murder them, steal. This is the stuff that's going to happen. And if you support that, then you, in my opinion, at least from a moral standpoint, you're an accomplice. You're aiding and abetting a murderer. Think about this when you're voting this next time in November. We have an opportunity to alter our government, as the Declaration states, when the government's not fulfilling its role. Think about what you want to support. I have a real problem with this because folks think this is political, and it's not. It's evil. I stated this in the first segment. It's good versus evil. And if you think because of political reasons you're going to get some policies because illegal immigrants are coming in, you'll be able to get some policies through, you're an accomplice to murder, in my opinion. And that's the bottom line, because you're supporting the people who are promoting or allowing this policy to happen, these open borders, unvetted illegals. This has impacts financially, but it also has impacts societally and individually. Look, it doesn't matter how much you invest and save for your retirement or whatever if you're not alive. It don't matter. And there is an outcry, but it should be, what's frustrating to me, it should be far greater. But so many people think, well, didn't happen to me. Well, how long are you going to wait? Are you going to wait till it does happen to you or a loved one? Are you a parent or a grandparent? Isn't one of the primary roles of a parent, a grandparent, not only to raise children, but also to protect them? You see, this is why this bothers me so much. I don't know Laken Riley or anyone associated with her at all. I have no skin in the game there, but I do. We all do. Because I have teenage daughters. I have a wife. And part of my role as a husband and father is to protect them. And one way that I can do to protect them is get this policy of open borders and unvetted illegal immigrants out of this country. Because I understand that next time it could be one of them. It could be you. It could be me. Why are we putting up with this? How many more Laken Rileys is it going to take before? Are you going to wait until it happens to somebody you know? I just don't think that's right. We need to stand up and protect our loved ones and ourselves and our country. And if you don't, you're aiding and abetting criminal activities, stealing, rapes, murder even. That's what's going on. That's what's up on the ballot coming up this fall. Keep that in mind. Do you know it took the U.S. 193 years to reach $1 trillion in national debt? And we now add about $1 trillion in debt every 100 days. This is unsustainable. This cannot continue, folks. This will have to change. I've been sharing this for quite some time. For years, literally, I've been discussing how the national debt is a national security issue, for one, and a financial disaster in the making. When is the chaos or the crisis going to hit? I don't know. No one does. Is it going to be months, years, decades? No one knows. It's coming, though. Here's the thing. Like any other crisis, it's going to happen slowly at first, and then it's going to rapidly accelerate. So it'll be slow at first and then really fast. And guess what happens in most times? It happens quicker than you realize, and you get caught up in it. Why do we have this? Corrupt and self-serving politicians. They got their greedy hands in the public till, and they're responsible for the high taxes and national debt. Are we going to replace them? What are we going to do about it? Or are we going to allow them just to continue to steal from us? We have some of the highest taxes in the world. We have the highest debt in humankind. Are we going to allow it to continue, or are we going to replace the people that are in charge this fall? We have an opportunity. My opinion, if you do not adamantly support reducing spending, you need to get voted out. If you do not adamantly support closing our border and deporting our illegal immigrants, you need to be voted out and replaced. I've shared this on a couple of the shows before. There's 435 representatives in the House of Representatives. What if half of them were replaced? Do you think that would send a message? I'd love to see all of them replaced, to be honest with you. But let's get rid of half of them. Could we do that? The answer is yes. If they've been there a long time, look at their voting record. Forget what they say. You can go to various websites and look up any representative's voting record, and you can see where they vote. Are they in support of open borders? Are they in support of endless spending or not? It's really quite simple. It's not that complicated to find out what their voting record is. There's a great place to go if you don't know of one. Go to libertyscore.conservativereview.com. Again, it's libertyscore.conservativereview.com. You can look at any representative, and you can look at their track record, their voting record over the past 6 years. Is it a voting record you agree with or not? If you look at open borders, illegal immigration, about 80% of Americans disagree with it. So that shows you about 80%, those people need to be replaced. Plain and simple. Do you know that rent is now unaffordable for 50% of the American people? And you know what the legacy media solution was to that? Well, live at home with your parents. Just stay home. There you go. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Great advice. Great financial advice. No, we have a shortage of housing, and you're letting in millions of illegal immigrants, what's that going to do for housing overall? It's going to push it up. Last week in the interview I did with John Burley, we discussed the impact of allowing millions and millions more illegal immigrants into this country, the housing costs, versus deporting them. Either way, it's going to create significant chaos, and you need to be aware of that. And let me give you another one. On top of all that, in the last 3 years, groceries and dining out costs have increased 25%. This is according to the U.S. Labor Department. I don't need to tell you. If you've been to a grocery store, you've seen it. But here's the biggest red flag you need to be aware of right now. It's jobs. We have lost 2 million full-time jobs in the last 8 months. This is, again, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Part-time jobs have increased. Full-time jobs have decreased. That is bad for the economy. That portends or will likely lead to recession. Why? The one bright spot we've had, why we haven't gone into recession yet, has been unemployment has been low and consumer spending has been strong. If unemployment increases, consumer spending will decrease. That's the one bright spot. It's the only reason we're not in a recession. You need to keep a really close eye on that. Again, the government will try to throw you off. They'll try to say, oh, the jobs report looks good. What they don't tell you, if you look under the hood, is part-time jobs are increasing, but we've lost 2 million full-time jobs in the last 8 months. That is bad news, no matter how you look at it. I think we're in for a bumpy ride. I don't know when. I don't know how long. I don't know how bad. No one does. But all the indicators are pointing to that. Again, the jobs thing is probably the biggest red flag to keep an eye on, keep a really close eye on. What do? Protect yourself. Batten down the hatches. Reduce your risk. You can do that. You can reduce your risk, get high liquidity, insured, guaranteed. You can reduce your taxes. Look, anything you can do to reduce expenses, like taxes, you should do. Look, if you don't agree with where the government's spending its money right now on illegal immigration, foreign aid, wars, and all that stuff, you know what you can do? You can legally reduce how much you pay in taxes by where you invest your money. Your personal bank can do that. I can share with you how to do that legally and ethically. Contact me at yourpersonalbank.com if you want more information. Lastly, high liquidity. Look, most cases when you have guaranteed money, it's locked up. Your personal bank allows you 60 to 90% liquidity day one, and you can still earn interest on money after you spend it. Get positive cash flow on monies you spend. What does that do? It means your money goes farther, and that's more important than ever because, again, the cost of food has gone up 25% in the last 3 years, according to the U.S. government. Stay tuned next week's show. I've got Sheila, the founder of Truth in Accounting. She's going to be sharing the State of the Cities, which is a great organization that tracks the spending of cities, states, and the federal government, the real numbers. So I'm really encouraging you to stay tuned next week. And as long as it's on our money, in God we trust.
Listen Tuesdays at noon and Saturdays at 1 to the Your Personal Bank Show for more information. Contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. That's 866-268-4422. This show is designed to provide accurate and authoritative information. The presenter and guests of this program do not engage in legal, accounting, or tax advice. Professional advice regarding your situation should be sought if required. Some products discussed may have limitations and not be available in all states. Excessive unpaid loans may affect performance. Distributions may become taxable if not managed properly. Replacements may not be suitable for everyone. There may be charges when replacing coverage. Dividend rates and bank line of credit rates may change. For current rates, contact Ferenc at 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com. Again, that's 866-268-4422 or yourpersonalbank.com.